Happy Sunday! We are getting together on a Sunday rather than Saturday. Come on in. Come on in for our October book chat with Marjan Kamali. Come on in, everyone. This is our October Spine of the Month book chat. Hey, Jill. Let me tell you, I'm so excited for this book chat. Let me see. I think she's here. Happy Sunday, everyone. Come on in. Up, here we go. Hello, hello. Let's see what Instagram's doing here. Oh, here we go.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I'm so happy to be talking to you because my nerves are like crazy, of course, for the next couple of days, but hopefully
I know.
this will
I know.
hopefully this will calm me a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you so much for saying yes.
Oh, well, thank you for asking me. I'm delighted to join you. Thank you so much.
Let me tell you, I discovered you, I think, in 2019. Is that when the stationery shop came
That's
out?
right. Yep, 2019.
So let me tell people first. I'm gonna do a quick intro, but I have to tell you that book has been on my favorites list. Anytime someone asks me, it's like literally one of my favorite books.
Thank you.
It is.
That means a lot.
And so I'm thinking, did we lose you? Oh, hold on a second, guys. Let me know if you can still hear her or see Marjan, because I think she went out. Give me a thumbs up in the audience. Because I can't hear or see her anymore. Huh. You can't see her? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so maybe she's going to come back in. Something happened. There we go.
Oh,
We're back.
we're back. I don't know what happened.
I don't either. It just kind of went blank. You were still there and then you kind of just went off. So now we got you. Okay, give me a thumbs up in the audience if everyone can see and can hear. Okay, and can you pronounce your name for me so I'll make sure I get it correctly? It's Marjan?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Persian pronunciation is Marjan, but for a good 40 plus years, I've been called Marjan, and it's almost like equal to me.
Okay, I love to get people's names correctly, so that's why I wanted to ask. But
thank you.
so you guys, we are here for October Spine of the Month, and the book that we read was The LION Women of Tehran. I don't know. The audiobook is absolutely stunning. Loved
I'm
it.
glad to hear it. Yes,
Yes.
the audio, Mojan Navabi and Nikki Masood, they did a great job, didn't they?
Oh yeah, the audiobook is absolutely perfect. So I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a reading slump. Let me pick this up. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if she'll be. This to me,
Yeah,
is like the mountaintop, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, let's see where this is going. And I cried. I was angry. I was weeping. It was just such a roller coaster of emotions, this book. And so I'm very, very happy that you said yes to be our October read. And I'm gonna do a quick introduction. I'm gonna let you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then give a brief description of the book. We don't do any spoilers because we want people to still read the book.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, welcome to our October Spine of the Month. We read this. Look at this cover, The LION Women of Tehran. The author is with us today, Marjan Kamali. I'm so thankful that she's here. And I have to do one more pub. If you haven't read The Stationery Shop, I highly recommend that you read this one as well. But look at these covers. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm so happy to join you, and I was really excited when you invited me. And basically, The LION Women of Tehran is my third novel. So I've written 3 books. Together Tea, which came out in 2013, that was my debut. And then The Stationery Shop, which has a beautiful fan club throughout the world, for which I'm very
Yeah.
grateful. And I'm very happy to hear that you are a big fan of The Stationery Shop. And then The LION Women of Tehran. And my novels take place in dual timelines,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes more than 2, right? And
Yes.
I know, and I keep saying, oh my gosh, I'm just going to write a book that takes place like in one day, but nope, it's going to be decades.
Right.
And then they also take place in both Iran and the US. So my characters are never quite in just one
Mm-hmm.
place. And that's my comfort zone because I grew up moving so much. And this new book, The LION Women of Tehran, it is a friendship story, and it follows the friendship of 2 girls who meet when they're 7, and we see them go through the joys of childhood,
Yes.
girlhood, and then the ups and downs of adolescence, and they go off to university together until one of them inadvertently betrays the other, and then they reconnect decades later in America. So the backdrop of this book is the women's rights movement in Iran, and much of the story takes place in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when women's rights were increasing.
Yeah. The whole time while you're talking, I'm thinking like what we have going on now with women's rights, reproductive rights. It's just kind of like it's, how do you say, you fight, you protest, and then it's all over. It's like a continuous cycle
That's
of,
right. It's a cycle. It's this constant cycle of protests, some gains being
mm-hmm.
made, and then steps back.
Yes, it really is. And so let's talk about what was your inspiration for this story? Because I read an article and I just love your, how you explain your inspiration. And I was kind of like, wow, I had no idea.
Yes, well, I think it's very fitting that you and I are chatting on Instagram because after the stationery shop, I had finished, well, I hadn't finished. I had started, I was about 100 pages in to a new book. And then I was on Instagram during the pandemic, during lockdown, when I came across these posts of a friend of mine who had been my best friend when I was in the 4th grade in Iran. And we had done everything together.
Mm-hmm.
We had done our homework together and played together. And I knew her mom, she knew my mom. And just seeing her again and seeing her posts, it just brought back almost like a physical, visceral feeling for me. And I thought again how these childhood friendships really shape us and
Yes.
their influence is forever, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the influence lasts, even if the friendship doesn't. So that was the inspiration. I put aside the 100 plus pages I had already written because then I knew what I really wanted to write was the story of a broken friendship.
Mm. And so, how do you go about starting? Tell us a little bit about your writing process, because even like thinking back to the stationery shop, because you have such a, I don't know, this is this masterful ability to weave historical events, personal narratives. It's your storytelling is just so amazing to me.
Mm.
And so, what's your writing process like? Do you write like so many hours a day? Do you do a outline? Like, how does a story develop for you?
Well, thank you for saying that. Every writer has their own particular process, and mine is so old school. But basically, I wrote a book called The Stationery Shop. So, I love stationery.
Yes.
And I'm a good use of stationery, so I do a lot of my first drafts in longhand.
Oh,
I literally, yep, in longhand with it's so nice because I'm coming to you live from my desk
uh-huh.
where I wrote much of the stationery shop and the LION Women of Tehran. And for each book, I buy, like, I literally go to CVS and I buy a notebook. See, this is just your basic old 5-tab subject notebook.
Wow.
And then I have like one section where I make notes about what the story could be. And then I have another tab where I literally write out scenes from, I just, like, these are scenes that you have now read in the Lion Women
Yes.
of Tehran. This is when Ellie goes home early one day from school and sees her mom, and no spoilers, but it's
Yes.
quite a
Hmm.
um, yes. So I do a lot of it longhand. I don't outline, not for the first draft. For that first draft, I'm just kind of figuring out the story myself.
Hmm.
I usually know the characters and I know the setting and I have a sense of the theme, but I don't know the story. And so through longhand, through free writing, through just discovery, I write the first draft and then I go back. I appreciate very much what you said about the storytelling, because then I go back and I'm meticulous about the design.
Hmm.
And then I kind of weave it all together and then I outline and I try to arrange it so that the story is told for maximum emotional impact on the reader.
Oh, well, you get that down 100%. I mean, I think I was reading this book, and we're going through a discovery, right? So I'm assuming that you're going through a discovery as you're building the characters and building their world, but you never give us everything all at once. Like we're always kind of left with, well, why is she like that, or why is this happening? And then you go on to something else, but then you bring it back and make the connection. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's so intentional on my part. I find that when we tell a story in chronological order, it's rarely as effective or powerful
Hmm.
as when you are told maybe a little bit of the future first,
Yes.
and then you go back and you learn what took you there, what led you up to that moment. So when you reveal what is the storyteller's craft, right? Because that's how you keep people in suspense, and that's how you make people invested enough to want to know, well, why did this happen? Why
Hmm.
is she like this? And you know that one of the epigraphs to the stationery shop is, there's nothing new in the world except the history you do not know. And I think that's true for people as well as countries. So sometimes when we meet people, it's really easy to judge them.
Hmm.
And there are certain characters in the Lion Women of Tehran that are supremely easy to judge as just being quite awful. But then when you see what they experienced, when you over time go back and see,
Hmm.
you understand them hopefully a little bit
Yes.
better.
Um, I will tell you this. I did not know where we were going. I was enjoying the journey, and I'm not revealing anything, but at the end, I was so incredibly satisfied and in awe that
Oh,
that's how you ended the story. Um, so let's talk about the symbolism of lion women. What does that mean? And how did it represent the context of the story?
well, Lion Women is a literal translation from a Persian phrase, which is Shir Zan. It means lion women. And basically, this is a phrase that I heard growing up my whole life. It refers to women who are fierce, women who are unstoppable, women who are opinionated and strong. And I can't tell you how empowering it was to know there was this term that existed and that it referred to these women who were so strong, especially in a patriarchal
Yes.
culture. Right? So just knowing this concept existed was empowering. And then let me tell you, I was surrounded by many a lion woman in my life, in my family, in my extended family, in my immediate family, my mother. So that's what that phrase refers to. And in the Lion Women of Tehran, we see how one friend, Homa,
Hmm.
is your prototypical brave, courageous, feminist, out there on the street protesting. and your other friend, Ellie, is a lot more meek
Hmm.
and a lot more
Yes.
insecure, and she is not what you would maybe think of as a lion woman.
Right. Yes. Agreed. um, I'm going to get into them because I just like have so many thoughts. But let's talk about before we get into the characters, because there's a lot to say about the characters. But I want to talk about the role of Tehran as the setting, like in all of your books, right? And so, how did you approach in this particular book the timeline? Because it's over decades. Um, your writing is so beautiful that you definitely get the, you get the sense of what's going on, like at the bazaar. You can feel like you're there, the the smell, what's going on, how things look. So how do you, because you capture the culture, the history, how do you bring this to life?
Well, I appreciate that you feel that way, and I worked so hard to do that. And part of the reason I think I have that descriptive detail is because I myself want it.
Hmm.
So I describe things to the level where I'm satisfied. And my husband can be the first person to tell you that I ask so many questions. You can't just say to me, I went to the store and I met Stephanie. You have to tell me exactly where you were standing, how she approached you, what was the tone of her voice, what angle was the sun coming into the window. I like that stuff. It's just how I ground myself. So I love bringing the scenes to life with all the sensory details. And,
Yes.
we all know visual, smell, but people forget taste.
Yes, they do.
People forget touch. So there's all of that. And to bring Tehran to life was a huge challenge because a lot of people assume that because I write about Iran, that I lived there my whole, like I grew up there. Well, I only lived there between the ages of 2 and 5, and then again 9 to 10 and a half. But I brought it to life through talking and interviewing others.
Mm.
I talked to elders who were there in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and I did a lot of research to the point that I could feel and live that place to the best of my ability. And then I wanted to crystallize it and memorialize it.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about the time, I mean, what you recall or what you've spoken about your time living there and then coming to the US.
So my time living there, obviously as a child, I had a whole different perspective, and that was before the revolution. So the Tehran I lived in was a very different place before the revolution. And then when I went back, the revolution had happened, but it had just happened. So what I saw all the changes in that pivotal year and a half. We lived it.
Yeah.
We saw the rules change for women. Um, Basically when we arrived, there was freedom to dress as you wished, and then over the time I was there, the laws changed one by one.
Hmm.
So the dress code became mandated, and much more importantly than the dress code, that's what we see, but marriage laws were changed, divorce laws, reproductive rights,
Hmm.
inheritance laws, travel laws, all these laws that women had fought so hard to sort of make gains in, and then the laws were changed to not benefit women. And so I saw that, I lived it. But that year and a half that I lived in Tehran, even though it was a short time, it was also a time of war. I lived
Hmm.
during the first year and a half of a war with Iraq, and it was horrific. And when you are in that kind of pivotal, almost traumatic situation, I feel like the details stay with you.
Yes.
And so I can tell you what it smelled like, and I can tell you distinct details that I cannot tell you about like 2 years ago in
Mm.
Boston. It
Yeah.
just stays with you.
Yeah. I heard you talking about, you did an interview where you were talking about like being in the basement and things like that and how that has stayed with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that stays with you. And that almost like becomes imprinted in your soul, and it affects from there on,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
everything.
So let's talk about Homa and Ellie. These women, these girls. Let's start there. The evolution of their friendship. Uh, I loved Homa so much. I loved her. She was just so authentic. She was who she was. She was going to change for anyone, no matter what setting she was in, right?
Yeah.
And so, whose voice came to you first? And let's talk about them. Let's talk about the friendship and how it evolves.
Let's talk about them. My goodness gracious. Well, Ellie came to me first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ellie came to me when you talk voice.
Mm-hmm.
Her voice came to me first. And Ellie, for the people who haven't read the book, she is a little bit more insecure. She tries hard, but she has this trait of jealousy. She's not happy about it,
Mm-hmm.
but when she sees something wrong, she hopes somebody like Homa will take care of it. She doesn't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
She wants just a good life, a nice life, and she has a narcissistic mother
Mm.
who really sort of is very controlling and a frustrating parent. But Homa, like you said, she's quite something else. She's one of those rare people who walks amongst us, who doesn't have a phony bone in her body,
Yeah.
and she is just pure of heart. She's an idealist, and she's incredibly loyal.
She
No
is.
spoilers, but she's incredibly loyal. And she's incredibly brave. And she's the kind of person who, if she sees an injustice, she'll fix it. She wants to fix it.
She
She
does.
takes action. She's very real and authentic. And I think that's what makes her so amazing. So Ellie's voice came to me
Mm-hmm.
first. And then Homa was on the page through Ellie's lens, through Ellie's point of view. But once I incorporated Homa's voice, I was worried. I was like, oh my gosh, should I tell part of the story from Homa's point of view? I guess that's a bit of a spoiler, but not really. I do include Homa's point
Mm-hmm.
of view eventually. And I was worried that they might sound the same, but let me tell you, she took over. She just wrote herself,
Yeah.
as of course she would, as of course she would.
Yeah. No, definitely you can tell the difference. I mean, they're two distinct voices, but I think the thing that stood out to me the most with the characters, Homa's joy, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what was going on.
Yep,
And we're not giving anything away by saying, she was in a lesser class as far as her family and things of that nature. Whereas Ellie was her privilege. She had a lot of privileges that Homa didn't have, but yet and still she always wanted the family and the joy and the connection. She was, I mean, always wanting to be in the kitchen with Homa's family, right? And
yes.
so let's talk about that joy, because I mean, she's a feminist. She gives her life to like protesting for rights. It's kind of like, they say joy is an act of resistance.
That's right. I was just going to say that. And it
Yeah.
is, and it is. And for women like Homa to still express joy, experience joy, hang on to your joy after everything that happens to her,
Mm-hmm.
and no spoilers, but some pretty rotten things happen to her.
Yes.
And for her to burrow deep down inside at a time when she wouldn't have had access to talk therapy, she wouldn't have had access to medication or any kind of support resources like that. She just went deep inside herself, drew on her own inner strength. Yes, she had the support of her mom, her sister,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a later character I will not name, but for her to be
Oh yeah.
able to act, yeah,
Mm.
I know I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
For her to be able to access her joy meant she was fighting, and she wasn't letting them define who she was, because the trauma she suffers could very easily have defined her for the rest of her life. But she says at one point, she says, I am me, I am Homa. I love to run. I love to read. I love to cook. And so that's Homa's strength. That's her superpower.
Yes.
And Ellie, as you said, she is jealous and she craves. You see, Ellie is so much more wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
comes from a richer background. She comes from uptown. She's much more sort of higher status per se, but she craves the comfort and the warmth of Homa's family
Yes.
and Homa's kitchen, because you can't buy that.
No, you can't. She craves all of that. And when they were little girls doing like, teenage things, I felt like she was creating a spirit in Ellie to, be a little bit daring. And like when they left school and things of that nature. But I will tell you there's one part when I literally screamed like I was, listening, is the school scene when the teacher announces they have a new student. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she did this. And at that moment, I was so disappointed in Ellie. She did not show up for her friend.
She did not. She behaved terribly. That scene was a lot of fun to write because you're expressing surprise at what happens in that school scene. And let me tell you, I was surprised too. Ellie did not, that was not Ellie's best.
No.
No, no, she was actually quite awful. But also, I feel true to that age,
Mm-hmm.
that adolescent age where you're in high school and you care so deeply what your peers think of you. It's
Mm-hmm.
astonishing. For those of us who are now, luckily, way past, I'll speak
Yes.
for myself, speak for
Yeah.
myself, way past those teenage years. Oh, it's so liberating. And then when you are in contact with teens, as I am, and you see again that insecurity, it's astonishing because there's a part of you that wants to say, just stop it.
Yes,
Why do you care? But she cares.
she
She
did.
cares deeply. She behaves terribly, doesn't she? However, we know because of Homa, because of who Homa is and how pure she is, she can't resist it long.
No,
She cannot resist
and then Homa's
it
drawing in other peers
long.
because of her natural person. Someone in Jill in the comments says a teenage girl would have done just this. It felt authentic, and it did. I mean, but I was so crushed. My spirit was like, what?
I know. I know it. Yeah, I was disappointed in her too. I was.
And
But
so
it was so Ellie. It
it,
was so Ellie.
yeah, I just was. Yeah, it was Ellie. So let's move on through the story. And can you talk a little bit about you said, was any of this like, I know you moved early, but how did you draw from the friendship? Because you mentioned the friendship early.
Yes.
How did you draw that into the story, if at all?
You know what I did? So, for example, I'm not Ellie and my friend wasn't Homa, and I'm not Homa and my friend
Hmm.
wasn't Ellie. I made these characters up. But I drew from that friendship in that I drew from the emotional core of it. And so, for example, when they're little and playing together, there's an ease and a comfort that Ellie feels in Homa's company. And I remember that. It's not that my friend made the world a better place. She tried, but she didn't really. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not that she was able to combat evil. All she did is she made the world, which we know is a broken
Hmm.
place, she made it easier for me to navigate that world because I had her company.
Yes.
And sometimes it's as simple as that. It's as simple as being in the company of a friend who just gets you. And we
Yeah,
know that Homa gets Ellie.
she does.
And she gets Ellie, and she's so authentically kind. And for Ellie, that kind of unconditional ease is something she doesn't have in her family life because with her mother, she's often walking on eggshells.
Yes.
She has to worry that her mother's going to become upset, disapprove, this isn't good enough. With Homa, there's none of that.
Hmm.
And that's what she truly craves. And I think too that so many times those early friendships we make, like in elementary school, they're often the first strong bond we have with someone outside of our family. And they're many times like a precursor for romantic
Yes,
relationships. They teach us how to
they
be
do.
with someone who's outside of our family.
They
Yeah.
can sometimes hurt more than romantic relationships when they break apart.
Yes, they really can. And I have to tell you, because I've written this book, I now get so many messages and
Yes,
letters about people's broken friendships.
friendships. Yes,
It's heart-wrenching.
yes. So talk Homa. I love her perseverance. She wants to be a judge.
Yes, she
I
does.
mean, in a space and a time when that's not allowed. So talk about that and what's going on, and because like what's going on in real time, or what's the actual facts, things that have happened in Tehran, you know, for her to have this belief that she actually can be a judge.
Yeah, well, I deliberately made Homa and Ellie not my age. I deliberately made them my mom's
Hmm.
age. So Homa and Ellie are my mother's generation, and that was the first generation of women who did become judges, who were permitted to do so, who made these advances over the 50s and the 60s such that they could serve as judges, but they were literally the first generation. So they were pioneers in many ways.
Yeah.
And Homa, like she knows that this is the beginning of something very new, and she's going to grab it and she's going to do the most with it. And what's so heartbreaking is that the women Homa's age who did become judges, they were the trailblazers. They were the first to do it, and then they were derobed.
Yeah.
They had their judge positions taken away after the revolution. They were asked to sit back down. That's what's so heartbreaking. It's one thing to have never have had those
Right.
rights, which sadly some countries in the Middle East have never experienced it to this level. But in Iran, they had it when it comes to
Hmm.
women. And I'm very clear that there were other rights that men and women didn't have: freedom of speech, freedom to protest against the Shah per se. But they
Hmm.
did have these rights for women increasing, and then those were taken away.
Yeah. um it's, like I said, we're having our own issues here in the
I know you
US.
and I, we're just having our discussion, and we're really happy to be having our discussion. And we're trying so hard not to think about what may come down the
Exactly.
line,
So,
right?
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how motherhood looms very large. And I love how motherhood changes Homa. Doesn't I mean it changes her. She's already has this fierce, bold persona, but it changes her in a different way where she becomes even more protective. And talk about that. I love what it does. And then Ellie in her own way experiences that, right? We're not giving anything away. Um,
Yeah.
and then the difference in the motherhood, like how Ellie's mom, she's just very she's not a likable person, but
Yeah, she isn't. And Ellie is aware of the mother she has, and she's aware of her mother's limitations, and yet how much her mother does love her. Um, Homa changes when she becomes a mother. She softens a bit,
mm-hmm,
and I think that that has been, I'm not saying it's a universal situation, but I've noticed it like in many mothers I know, including myself. Um, it does soften you
mm-hmm,
to become, if anything, more humble. Uh,
definitely.
nothing, nothing is as humbling. And so we see how you have this strong feminist activist,
Mm-hmm,
without giving spoilers, becoming an accidental mom. And then the way Homa reacts to that, she could have reacted very
yes.
differently, but the way she reacts to that you know, it's her. She's all in. She leans in, and she's of course quite passionate.
And her support is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we both want to say something and we
We
can't, but
can't.
she's lucky to have that
It's
support, and it is,
just amazing.
yes, yes,
And then, how did you go about? I don't think this is a spoiler because you said that they meet again in
yes.
America, but how do you balance the family dynamics and cultural traditions and intertwine that with the political landscape?
That's a great question. It's so easy when you're writing a book like this to allow the politics to take over, because the politics do take over
Yeah.
people's lives in a lot of places, including here, I might argue. I feel
Yes.
like it's a privilege when you can have the politics not take over your life. But for many people, even in the United States, the politics inform every aspect of your life. So, as a novelist, though, I don't want it to read like a political
Hmm.
treatise, and I don't want, it's not even a history book, right? It takes
Right.
place in the mid 20th century for a lot of it. But the way I do it is I always ask myself, like, what serves the story and what serves the characters? What matters to Homa?
Hmm.
What matters to Ellie? What matters to their friendship? What matters to the mom and later to the men in their life? And
Yes.
you know, so I try to have the politics and even the history be like a backdrop, and in the foreground you have this relationship. And honestly, the relationship is what intrigues me the most.
Yeah.
Just in general, I'm so curious about human interaction and emotional dynamics. And the politics, though, is there, and the politics, as we know, also affects their circumstances to such a strong degree. But I don't want it to overwhelm the story I'm telling.
Yeah, I like what you say that it serves as the backdrop, the background, because I felt like it makes me more informed because there's a lot of things that I didn't know about that time period. So of course, I went to go down the rabbit hole and see just to get more context. But I feel like you always give us historical context, but it doesn't take over, like you said, the actual narrative of the story.
Exactly, because you could always read a history book about 20th century Iran, for example, and learn those
Hmm.
facts. But I love the E.L. Doctorow quote that says, history books show us what happened, but fiction shows us how what happened made people feel. And that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yes.
I care about the facts, and I have to get them right. Everything I write is fact checked by
Yeah.
Simon and Schuster. It's fact checked a million times over if I'm referring to historical or political events. But for me, what really matters is, how did this make Ellie feel? And how did this make Homa react?
Hmm.
And how did this affect Homa in her heart? That to me is way more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many pivotal moments in the story that just had me kind of like gasping. I mean, we have another character who, Suzanne.
Oh, yes.
So it's
Oh,
like,
my goodness gracious. Yes.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think about her. I mean, I'm not going to say she's an outlier because she's not an outlier, but she is like another friend in the friend group. But, you come to find out her story and what she's doing. Like you say, people are living these lives and making it the best way they can. You don't know the fight that they're fighting.
So true. You don't know the fight that they're fighting. And with her character, I was trying to show that even a woman of privilege,
Hmm.
we know she's married to the colonel, and we know that she's rich. Um, but even a woman of privilege is not safe from the laws, and she has to make some very hard choices,
Yes.
and she has to at times look the other way when the ethical thing would have been to not do so. But these are almost the corners into which women were backed, because they did not have the alternative of almost like, steering their own ship. So
Hmm.
it's there's a lot of calculation that has to be made.
Yeah, the book is incredible. I see people in the comments, someone says they're going to order. I have a link where you can order right away if you need the book. It's absolutely amazing. But I have to ask this, you come off of this amazing response to the stationery shop,
Hmm.
and then you're going into your third book, you're writing it. How are you feeling? Like, do you feel like an immense amount of pressure? Um, like, what are you thinking? I mean, the readers everywhere loves this book. And so what am I going to write next that's going to keep this level of greatness?
Well, thank you. I mean, I felt such pressure.
I bet.
The stationery shop was so beloved. It's since been translated into, now we're at 23
Yeah.
languages. So I get messages from readers all over the world, and then you sit there with this notebook, and you're like, "Hello, my notebook and my pen." And now I have to come up with a new book, and how do I live up to maybe some of those expectations?
Hmm.
And you can bet I didn't have that going into my first book, right? Because no one
Right.
cared. No one was waiting. But after the stationery shop, the pressure was on. And here's what I did. I said to myself, let me pretend that no one's really gonna read it. Let me pretend that the only people who matter are Ellie
Hmm.
and Homa and, well, Ellie's mother and
Yeah.
Susan and Nikki and Nilu and, all the cast of characters and the young men. That was the only way I could do it. So I would come into my office, I would close the door, no internet, nothing, no social media, me and the page, and my devotion and my obligation was to Ellie and Homa.
Yeah.
That was the only way I could do it. Um, I can honestly tell you now that the book has been out for about 3 months, um, almost 4 months today. Four
Oh,
months today. Um, I am just grateful that this book has also touched readers' hearts and gotten an incredible reception, and that people feel so connected to these two friends and tell me about their own friends and have learned about their own childhood from reading this story. I'm just deeply, deeply grateful that it seems I've been able to live up to it to
oh,
some extent.
110%. You have lived up to it. I mean, literally, I was telling one of my friends, I said, you have people that you ought to buy or whatever. I'm like, I literally will read anything that you write.
Um,
I now have to go back. I have to read your first book because I haven't read that. So I'm going to go read that. But I mean, I knew this one.
yeah.
And I said, um, and someone asked to, so I have the audio book and I have the art. And someone like wanted to, and I said, no, this is like a treasure. This is like the proof. Like, no, you can't borrow this one. So this just came out 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Can you talk about any upcoming projects, or you want to share? Are you taking a break? What can we expect next?
Well, it came out on the 2nd of July, and I went on this massive book
Hmm.
tour. I went all over the country, and it was so energizing and incredible. Um, but I would constantly go back to New York, and I would constantly FaceTime with my parents in New York City because my dad was sick, and then sadly in August he passed
Yep.
away.
Sorry. Yes.
So I took some time off, and then I went back to events, this fall. But all of that is to say that there is so much in my heart right now that needs to be told as a story. Not that these books are ever my life,
Hmm.
but they're certainly my
Right.
emotions.
Right.
Even though they happen in a different time, in a different place, and those characters aren't me, of course I borrow on my own emotions.
Hmm.
So I'll tell you this. Look at this. I got the
I was
new
gonna say,
notebook.
I was just getting ready to ask, do you have a new notebook?
Yes, I got the new notebook. I got the new notebook.
That is
Let's
so
see. There's
amazing.
only like 1 or 2 pages filled in, but we're gonna get going. We're gonna get going because, to be honest with you, these novels, it's like going into a well. It's like diving into a well, except instead of the well being filled with water, it's filled with emotions I need to process. And so, to answer your question, the next book will be, for sure, it will touch on themes of grief, and it will
Mm-hmm.
touch on themes of, what it means to be a person well into their own life who loses a parent, because it's very different
It
than losing
is.
one young. Yeah, yeah.
I lost my dad when I was, well, it's been 10 years, 46 years, 46. Yeah, so it's totally different.
Yes, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. And I
yeah,
know that that shifted your planet.
yes. So I will definitely be looking forward to the next book for sure. Um, you have provided such a sense of calm today,
Oh,
and I thank you, uh, just to get my mind off of things, and I'm sure others can relate, just to kind of take a break.
you know what? We're going to take deep breaths and we're going to just remember that just like Homa didn't let whatever happened
Yes,
rob her of her inalienable right to joy. We can't let anything that happens rob us.
yes,
Because I really think that's a good way of almost like fighting back. I will tell you this, my last name is Kamali. And as of late, when people write to me, I can see it autocorrects to
it does,
Kamala.
because I did it earlier.
You do- So I
It's the
just
same
get
thing
such
happened
a
to
kick
me.
out of it. Yeah, I get such a kick. I see like DMs and texts, and it's all to Kamala. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's awesome. But
Mhm.
thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I did see a comment. Someone said that they love technology because they're so obsessed with the stationery shop, and that now they actually get to be in here and hear you and listen to
Oh,
you. And I feel the exact same way. Like, this is like amazing.
well,
So
it's an honor to join you. I'm honored to join you, and I cherish this conversation, and I think maybe I'll just carry it in my heart and let it energize me
yes,
over the coming week.
thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to reading what's next. I'm actually going to go back and read your debut. That's going to download that audiobook right as soon as I finish.
Oh, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed Together Tea as well. Thank you so
Thank you so
much. And
much.
thank you for this great
Thank
conversation today.
you.